it really looks nice and perfect.
Are you sure it's made from meat?
No, it's plant-based. It's plant-based. It's 100% vegan. Even the cheese is made from almond, and the burger is vegan, so everything is a vegan product. We are totally on the right place here in Plantfull Festival.
So the cheese is made from almonds?
Yeah, it's made from almond milk.
Wow, so how do you get a burger to taste like a real burger, even if it's plant-based?
Well, you need to build up the flavor of the product, starting with the off notes, because that's most challenging. If you come with a protein, to mask the off note, to give you a nice umami body and a savory taste, and then topped by some nice beefy, fatty grill notes, like this barbecue burger,
And what about color? I mean, how do you get the color to look like real meat?
Well, we use natural ingredients to make that happen. And this is a beetroot powder, a powder pure product, and a natural caramel. If you combine them, they really look like a brownish, nice meat. And the beetroot, that's the trick for the medium inside.
Can you use any kind of plant as a base?
Yeah, we are looking into different kind of proteins. So majority is still soy. Pea is a strong product coming up with. So in the past, we looked into pea as well to understand the proteins as such. But you can use any kind of proteins. You have to fix it based on your application and make it work.
So, you talk about pea-based protein. Are all pea-based proteins the same?
No, that's a good point. So in the past, we really did a deep dive into the proteins to understand what is going on here. And we checked 20 different samples of yellow pea, which is botanically the same source. But every single protein had different off notes, different astringency. They were all different, even having the same source. So that's because of crop production processes. That's really something you have to understand when looking at the right protein, at your protein supply, to bring you the right protein for your final product.
20 different pea proteins. That's amazing.
Yeah, we even analyzed much more, but that was a good combination based on really one organic, same material. So that's something that was really interesting for us as well.
What kind of other proteins do you see as being most challenging to work with?
Well, basically we look in all kind of future proteins, so faba bean, lentil, algae. So, but there you have other problems. The color. So never wants to use a green protein. So
a green burger.
Yes, a green burger to come up with. So that's something you have to figure out. But we are looking in all kinds of future proteins.
And is pea protein, you talked about soy and pea, are both of those being used as bases mostly for burgers?
Yeah, I think globally soy is still the major product, the major protein in. Pea is catching up because it's easy to grow, it's available in different markets, and it's growing because of the acceptance from the consumers as well. But there are new products coming up as well. So there are new proteins in the market, like every month a new protein is throwing into just to test on different applications. And that's what we do day by day.
So what are some of the tools that you're using to help prevent this mushy, soft texture?
We're using natural ingredients like starches, fibers to really bind the TVP, so really bind it together to get you the juiciness, to get you a nice meat-like bite, and to give you some good mouthfeel. This is what you get within the burger.
So we've been talking about burgers today, but what about other kinds of mimicking of meat, like chicken or like fish? Do those prove to be more challenging or less challenging?
Well, a good point is that you need to look at your final product first to give you an idea about the color. The meaty burger, it needs to be red, brownish, but the fish fingers, they need to be white and shiny, like the chicken breast fillet as well. So you need to understand the color of your protein to bring you to the right final concept as well. And then if you want to have a whole muscle, so really looking into chicken breast, you want to look into chicken fibers. So you want to have fibrous meat. So you need to have a different raw material than the TVP you have been using for the burgers.
And I'm sure we haven't solved all of the challenges and made the perfect burger, or maybe you have, Alex. But what do you see as some of the areas that still need, development work? Where are the areas that you're focused on in terms of improving this elusive burger?
Yeah, that's a good point, Karen. Basically, we have to understand and look for the future into the nutritional value of the products. So how we can include that into our daily diet and how to make it more functional, healthy food for the consumers. So basically, the natural beetroot does give some nutritional value because it's a natural product. It increases that, but we have to really look into, and that's what we do in terms of researching, understanding how the protein product is digested in the human body and how we can improve that in terms of nutritional intake.
So what's the top piece of advice you would give to manufacturers using plant-based proteins to optimize the texture and prevent this mushy burger?
Well, basically, it's already said during the whole session. So you need to understand your protein. Get the right protein based on your application and make it work depending on color, make it nice texture, chewy texture, give you the right flavors, which is improving the culinary experience for your consumer. And that will sell.
So taste and texture work together?
Always. It's always going together, Karen. And that's the way we do, huh?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Alex. I hope that you as an audience have learned a tip or a trick today to help prevent those mushy burgers. And we're all looking forward to tasting some of those burgers that you've made soon, Alex.
Yeah, just give me a call. I will send it out. No, I will eat it. Bye-bye.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Our consumers expect a tasty, meaty alternative as a healthy option can be the challenge of our flavor creation. As a flavorist, one of the most important creative process is to understand all the chemical components and also the molecular reaction technology based on the real meat. Through a combination of the science and all the technology behind, we will need to mimic the taste and the mouthfeel of the real meat, which is also heat stable to sustain the cooking process.
Hi everyone, welcome to Germany. Come on in. My name is Patrick Büttner. I am the Head of Technical Sales and Product Application here at IFF Full-Term Savory Solutions in Germany. We're located in Holdorf. Now I don't mind if that doesn't ring a bell with you, but we're located in the northwestern part of Germany, close to the border to the Netherlands. Strategically, this is a very positive space for us because around this area we're in the middle of a very bustling food production area in Germany. This center was built as a pure research and application facility. We have a great focus on training our internal personnel, but also co-creating with you, our dearest customers. So today I would like to show you a bit of our space and what we do. So come on and follow me, please. We're entering now the hygienic area, so sanitation is a mandatory. So I would like you to follow me and wash hands and get dressed. We are working with real food, so safety measures and hygiene measures in place. Okay guys, let's go inside. Okay, so now we are in the pilot plant, which is newly built in order to create and develop meat products, meat alternative products, and also fish. This space is serviced by two master butchers that we have, Florian and Marcus. So it's basically a professional playground that we are extremely happy about because it lets us co-create, develop and improve food products for you, our customers. We do that under industrial conditions to mimic processes that we would find actually in your factories. That would help us to increase speed of development and route to market. Having traditional butchery backgrounds, we have put alternative protein in the center of our focus for many years, and it makes us extremely happy that we see so many successful products out in the market. Now we have entered the packaging and cooking zone. We have separated the wet area from the dry area. This is the space where we are doing the cooking, where we are doing the fermenting and final product packaging. That may be under vacuum or that may be under modified atmosphere conditions. Whatever is right for the product, whatever is right for the market. Okay, so now we're going to the next room, which will be a kitchen. We have left the hygiene area. That means we can lose the hats and we can lose the coat. Back to normal. Tasting session going on, but let's go inside. Typical day in the tasting session, in the tasting kitchen. We're having our developers, Carsten and Marcus, in the place. Hi, Carsten. Hi, Marcus. What are we having, guys? I see vegan burgers, I see vegan nuggets, and vegan fish fingers. How are we doing? Products? Good? Thumbs up. Thumbs up. Very good. Nice. To see some bit of the magic behind this, we're going to apply some magic ourselves. Oh, forgot my laptop. Stefan, please pass me the one. Thanks. Now we are at the research side of the business. Here we employ biotechnologists, food technologists, but also microbiologists and chefs. We source our ingredients throughout the globe directly from the manufacturer in order to maintain and ensure superior quality and superior functionality. This is it for us. For sure, it was a lot of fun. Now I'll get you to the door. Thanks for the visit, guys. Hope you found it interesting. There will be many, many more interesting sessions throughout the festival. Hope to see you soon and have a good day. Bye. Bye.
In Japan, soybean is our traditional plant protein source and it has been for centuries. It is such a common ingredient and is used in so many ways in our diet depending on how it is processed. Just like our other common export, origami, soybean is such a versatile ingredient. もやし、枝豆、豆乳、おから、湯葉、醤油、氷豆腐、味噌、納豆、きな粉、いただきます。
Soy milk is placed in the dairy section. However, for this kind of plant protein beverage, they are placed in the beverage section. And if we check the nutrition label, we will find that the protein content is not that high. So the claim is actually not all around protein. However, it's more like overall health or some specific health benefit.
Traditionally, Indonesians drink latte by adding sweet condensed milk into the brewed coffee. 2 years ago, we have seen people opting fresh milk alongside with plum sugar over condensed milk as a healthier option. Just recently, to take health matter to another level, sweet soya sauce, plant-based protein source, is added to latte as the sweetness.
Here is a sweet soya sauce latte. Tastes pretty good.
On our busiest day, we made 670 drinks. Probably 1/3 plant milk, 2/3 cow. I'd say it differs between soy and almond. Chai is usually soy milk. People pairs well together. That's with like chai tea. I think over like the 2 years or so that I've been here, it's definitely gotten more popular. Especially almond milk. We used to do maybe half as much as we do now. Oat milk is coming into fashion.
What I have here is the taho, the classic Filipino street food snack that is made out of 3 ingredients. Its main ingredient is the silken tofu, which we all know comes from soybeans or soy milk. The second ingredient is the caramelized brown sugar called arnibal, and the third ingredient is the sago or tapioca pearls. Taho is packed with vitamins and minerals. It has high quality protein but low in saturated fat. It's rich in 8 essential amino acids, fiber, B vitamins, and omega-3 fatty acids. This taho gives me my daily dose of healthy plant-based protein.
Typically, Greater Asian markets are seen as developing, and to a certain extent, that's certainly true. However, at the same time, when it comes to plant-based, ingredients and taste are very well established here, and in some respects, they are setting the standards, providing the inspiration for opportunities in the rest of the world. Cheers.
Plant-based food products are growing with consumers. When I say consumers, we're not just talking about adult consumers, but these consumers too.
That's actually a very good question. Some of my favorite foods are like French fries, chicken nuggets.
My favorite foods are homemade pizzas that my dad makes, potatoes,
El asado, los fideos y el salmón ahumado.
blueberries, chocolate cake, cheesecake, and chocolate.
My favorite food is grilled cheese, cheese stick, and chicken nuggets.
有排骨、鸡翅、羊肉、茄子、番茄。
buenísima. Because it makes me feel happy. No. 没有，我没有吃过。No.
Never?
No. Sí. Sí, la lechuga, la albahaca, se cuenta como plan.
What do you think plants taste like?
可能就是感觉筋道，然后那个不好吃的感觉。
Okay.
Smaakt heel smerig.
Okay, so there's your first sample. What does it look like to you?
感觉拍起来就感觉不怎么好吃。It looks like beans.
Hoe ziet het eruit?
So what does it taste like?
Potatoes.
What does it taste like?
Look at the next sample in front of you. What does it look like to you?
It's definitely chicken nuggets.
Okay.
Nuggets. 看起来也特别好吃。For me, it looks like fish fingers. 可以特别筋道，颜色也特别好看。It's juicy, tender. I like it, the taste of it. Doesn't really taste like chicken, but I like it. Yes.
You love it?
Yeah. It tastes like hot chili sauce with a bit of fish taste also.
This one?
Second. This one's the winner. Second one. This one. 这个。Die is totaal niet tussen.
Do you know that the favorite dish that you picked out is actually made out of plants?
我肯定不会相信的。我肯定不会相信的，这个不可能是这个做成的，因为这个是肉的，这个是蔬菜。Zou het dan hetzelfde smaken? Zou ik echt niet voorstellen. I like that. That means a lot less killing animals. Too.
Does it feel okay?
They're all made from plants? I still like it.
Hi everyone, my name is Lawrence Reiber and I'm very excited today to be able to talk to you and to introduce this next segment on clean labeling. As many of you have experienced, clean labels really become a key requirement to meet consumer needs. And not surprisingly, we at IFF, we've also extensively invested in this space through our brand, the clean label brand, IFF Taste Origins. Beyond this, we also see and have seen clean label move into the plant-based space, especially because plant-based has become more mainstream and has attracted and made it accessible to a larger population. In addition, we continue to follow and monitor the clean label space and the plant-based space because it's constantly evolving, and we do that both through internal research but also through keeping ourselves up to speed on the perspectives from external experts in the field. With this, I'd like to introduce you, and it's my pleasure to introduce this next segment, led by Food Navigator and Lumina Intelligence on the importance of clean label to plant-based. Enjoy and stay safe, everyone.
plant-based innovation offers a massive opportunity to reshape consumption patterns. While growing numbers of people identify as vegetarian or vegan, this is a drop in the ocean when we think about the shift needed to build a sustainable protein future. The scalable business opportunity lies in appealing to flexitarian consumers, delivering products that get people to switch easily. A new generation of analogues that offer high protein content alongside the organoleptic properties of meat or dairy is answering this demand. In the future, innovation could push the envelope further still, challenging preconceptions about what centre plate protein means. But today, to reach the mass market, the focus is on bringing in those flexitarian consumers through a meaty experience. Despite a buoyant category performance, a hurdle is emerging. The ultra-processed nature of meat and dairy analogues, which is necessary to deliver the taste or texture that consumers expect, is being placed under the microscope. From NBC to the Wall Street Journal and The Times, mainstream media outlets are probing the ingredients lists of analogue products. And whether it's for a high fat, salt or sugar content, or the use of GMOs and allergens, the sector is facing pushback. Plant-based is crashing up against another food industry megatrend: clean label. There's not a clear definition of clean label, but it has associations with attributes like nutrition and health, ethics, safety and quality, and certainly there is overlap between the drivers supporting plant-based. But naturalness is a core attribute that plant-based innovators are still struggling to incorporate into their formulations and processes. With scrutiny of plant-based nutrition increasing, could the sector's health halo slip? We see a growing need to formulate plant-based options that deliver on taste, texture and mouthfeel, but do so without sacrificing nutrition or perceived naturalness. This intersection between clean label and plant-based could prove a real sweet spot for future food industry innovation.
Clean label has undergone a major transformation in the last decade. Born as a direct manufacturer's response to consumer concerns around food safety, clean label has moved on to embrace natural foods, nutritious foods, and a greater content of plants. In fact, clean label is increasingly aligned with responsible, healthy, and United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Lumina's scan of 47 CSR reports from the major food and drink manufacturers and suppliers, which held over 1,480 pledges against SDGs, actually already maps out 186 commitments that can be aligned to the broader clean label concept. Clean label commitments typically sit within Goal 12, Responsible Consumption and Production, and Goal 3, which is good health and well-being. In fact, these two goals are in the top 3 of the most committed to goals by the food and drink industry. Companies increasingly pledge to remove artificial ingredients, unknown ingredients, genetically modified ingredients, or provide transparency about using GMOs. They also widen their offering of plant-based alternatives. And 2023 is a very frequent deadline. These are simple pledges, but will result in long-term strategic changes, irrevocably shaping product formulations, NPD lines, and the whole food supply chain. Removing artificial flavors and preservatives opens up immediate opportunities for spices. For example, Kraft uses paprika, annatto and turmeric to create the signature yellow color in its mac and cheese recipe. Danone, leader in dairy, already claims to be the world's largest flexitarian company. Danone heavily invests in plant-based alternatives with its flagship Activia brand, as well as in new plant-based startups such as the recent acquisition in California. Consumer interest in plant-based has been on the rise too in the last 5 years, with 2019 seeing a particular boost in consumer searches on Google, and an even bigger boost in the interest in the concept of Beyond Meat. And coming back to Katie's earlier point, how easy is it to move from regular products to plant-based alternatives? Do we actually have to do that? Well, in some cases we do. Sports nutrition is probably one of the most challenging categories. Manufacturers have worked on plant-based formulations for years and years, as we know. Yet, based on over 1 million customer reviews left across the e-commerce platforms that Lumina captured, we can actually see that plant-based alternatives score consistently 0.2 stars lower than the animal-based offering. In the very competitive e-commerce environment, 4.2 stars for plant-based versus 4.4 for animal-based does actually reduce the commercial opportunity.
As Eva suggests, for the plant-based boom to continue, consumer experience needs to be placed front and centre. For many of us, there's a sense that the coronavirus crisis will mark a before and after point in society. COVID-19 has acted as an accelerator of food sector trends, changing the way we eat, shop and think about food. Products that deliver both clean label and plant-based stand to benefit from accelerated consumer concerns around food safety, diet and health. In the UK, for instance, sales data from Kantar covering lockdown shows meat alternatives are up 25% and free-from milks are up 28% on the year. A survey from the Vegan Society found 21% of people report cutting meat consumption during lockdown, and it would appear that for the time being at least, this does have sticking power. 19% of respondents said they would continue to buy analogues as lockdown eases. Meanwhile, in France, a YouGov survey found half of consumers say they have reappraised the value of food due to COVID. Transparency about ingredients and delivering health benefits have been identified as two important attributes for shoppers in the country. Again, clean label and plant-based can be leveraged to respond to this need state. But there could be a cloud on the horizon. Right now, plant-based frequently commands a price premium. The sector has not yet reached the scale needed to optimize supply lines. And, like any cutting-edge field, the leading plant-based innovators have substantial R&D expenditures. When global economies are buoyant, the value proposition of analogues means this isn't an issue. But what impact will the coming global economic downturn have? Will consumers be forced to think even harder about buying something that is new and different? The answer returns to heightened consumer needs around wellness. In this context, it could be more important than ever for plant-based products to deliver added value through positive nutrition and clean label credentials.
The march of the alternative protein movement is continuing at an alarming rate. People are turning their back on traditional dairy. Who in 2021 wants to drink the milk of another animal? We decided to talk to those in the know
and write the obituary for traditional dairy in 2020. Bye.
When we talk about dairy and plant-based products, we need to talk first about bio-individuality. That means each individual are unique, so nutritional requirements must be different. In terms of dairy products, they are a good source of vitamin B12, vitamin D, and calcium. But on the other hand, people who suffer from lactose intolerance need to remove these products from their diet. Plant-based products are a good source of vitamin E. You can find it in almond milk. Or if you're looking to increase your fiber daily intake, you can go for oat milk. Definitely, there is no milk that fits everyone. The taste, the nutrition, and the cost will vary. The best things to do is learn how to listen to your body and find the best option for you and for your daily routine.
Our customer base is primarily people who just want to eat different tasty foods. We focus on health-based cooking. We make our plant-based cheeses out of cashews and almonds and sunflower seeds. The type of milk that our customers prefer, it changes with the dietary trends over the years.
I wouldn't say all the time, but definitely yes.
はい、よく食べます。豆腐、豆乳、毎日食べます。最近はあんまり飲まないです。社会人になってからは特に飲まなくなりました。
Yes, I do drink traditional milk.
I had a bit of digestion problems about 2 years ago, and the doctor at the time recommended that I switch all my products to lactose-free and plant-based alternatives.
Wanting to have a more healthy lifestyle, so I decided to drink more of the plant-based milk. But I wouldn't say I drink it all the time. It's a little bit more expensive. I would say the one that was best for me was the almond and the unsweetened almond one.
I've tried, I think, everything. I've tried soy milk, coconut milk, cashew milk. My favorite is usually almond milk.
The traditional milk would be the one that I'm used to. It's the one that I've been drinking my whole life. I would say it's the one that has more of a neutral taste to it. The plant-based, I would say they have a bit of a flavor in it, an off flavor.
I do not really like the fatty note of traditional milk. When I drink almond milk, I prefer the nutty note from the almond. It brings out naturally, and for coconut milk, it's more smoothie and creamy rather than the traditional milk.
難しい質問なんですけれども、もっと美味しく、種類もたくさん、あるような商品が出てくればいいなと思います。以上です。
I'd like to see a bit more natural plant-based cheeses.
Really important to remember that Indians have a very high and perhaps unforgiving bar when it comes to dairy. Dairy is deep-seated in our culture, and especially our eating culture, of course, but also religious culture. We use it in sweets, we use it in cooking, we use it, of course, in tea and coffee, where it has to perform exactly the same way in all of these applications, so it can't feather or curdle where it's not necessarily supposed to. And so you really have to meet a very high bar without sacrificing the price either. You have to provide it to consumers at a price that works for them in a very price-sensitive market.
Well, perhaps we were a little premature in writing the obituary for traditional dairy. It seems like it's very much alive and kicking and still has a lot to offer consumers. So traditional dairy is here to stay for the foreseeable future. But it also seems like alternative plant proteins have an increasingly important role in the future of food. Cheers.
Hi, my name is Poonam, and I'm a journalist and an expat living in Dubai for the past 13 years, which means I've seen a lot of changes when it comes to living a healthy lifestyle. Now, the early settlers in most of the GCC countries were known as Bedouins, and they relied solely on camel milk, which is still actually sold here. However, there has been quite a big revolution recently, where people are switching from dairy to plant-based products. But how big has that switch actually been? Well, let's go and find out if dairy is still alive and kicking or dying a slow, cheesy death.
I do still eat and drink dairy. It's a difficult one to come out of. I think after all these years you get so used to having these things, and it's more so for me eggs, cheese, butter. Being plant-based is definitely better for our bodies. I know that for fact. I think there are a lot of alternatives in the UAE. So I'm kind of early on in this process of making that switch or understanding a lot more about plant-based foods.
I do not eat or drink any dairy. Why? As a believer of non-violence, I don't want to be any part of how the dairy industry operates, which is shortening the lives of these beautiful animals.
So I've switched to a plant-based diet as part of my New Year's resolution in 2020, and I've been drinking and making nut milks for the most part and have been very happy about it. It hasn't been easy though, because obviously I'm not 100% vegan. I will have the occasional meat, maybe once or twice a month.
In my diet, I tend to have dairy and fewer alternative options. The only time that I have alternative dairy options are when I occasionally steal my husband's lactose-free milk and have it in my tea.
I've actually gone off dairy. One of the reasons for that is because I felt that I was getting bloated. I felt that I was getting headaches, my skin was itching. And I actually then switched to a more of a different lifestyle, which is more of a keto-based lifestyle. It's not as dairy dependent. So that's one of the things that I've done is it's changed the way my outlook on life. It changed me physically, it's changed me mentally. I do honestly believe that having dairy in my life was making me bloated, irritable, itchy skin, and I wasn't focused.
In the future, will people dump dairy for good? I don't know. I probably don't think so. But what I do know is people are getting more and more aware. They're more and more curious about the sources of where their products are coming from, and they will be asking more questions. So will that change the dairy industry? Yes. Will that change the consumption? Yes. Will that mean an increase in non-dairy alternatives? Absolutely.
We do have a handful of non-dairy alternative options that you can find in supermarkets. However, I do think that there is a huge opportunity for that, and we're seeing a lot of the local homegrown companies that are introducing these products as well.
I think it's a long time coming, but I think a lot of people are now switching from coming out of dairy and going into plant-based. I don't think that switch will be anytime soon for the majority, but I think the people who are becoming more and more aware are increasing rapidly as well.
After switching to a plant-based diet, I've often been asked, would you ever go back to dairy? And I've thought about it. And today my answer is absolutely no. But if someone in the industry could guarantee that the lifespan of the animal has not been shortened, and if the animal was not caused any harm, perhaps I would give it consideration. But until then, I'm going to enjoy my plant-based living.
Well, there you go. I don't think we'll be ditching dairy just yet, but a lot of people have made the switch, which is great. It means Dubai is going in the right direction.
I'm Beth Borshashevsky, Senior Food Technologist here at Tastepoint by IFF. Today I'm going to be making you a fava bean non-dairy frozen dessert.
Hi, my name is Catherine Morales, and I am the Team Lead of Nutritional Beverages here at Tastepoint by IFF. Today I'm going to be making a plant-based protein ready-to-drink beverage.
Today we've chosen to use fava bean protein for our plant-based non-dairy dessert. But it doesn't mean that that's our only choice. There are plenty of options for plant-based proteins to use. Pea protein is readily available, but it does have a vegetative note that you will have to address.
Today I'm going to be using pea and mung bean proteins. Pea protein is very commonly found in the market, but it's very rarely used on its own. So it's typically blended with another protein, such as sprouted rice, almond, or chickpea. And these proteins tend to give a nicer mouthfeel and texture to the product as well, so they marry with the pea protein very nicely. However, with almond protein, you have to be careful because it tends to have a thicker consistency and a lower yield of protein, averaging around 40%. So if you're going to use almond protein in a ready-to-drink matrix, I would use it at the lesser of the ratio of proteins.
Almond protein is clean and nutty, but you might want to opt for almond butter instead. Almond butter will add the fat source in addition to your protein component for your non-dairy frozen desserts. Oat protein is also another option. It has some grainy notes, it's got some cereal notes. The only issue is that it is very viscous at higher levels. If you use oat protein at a high enough level, it will render your formula solid, even before you've had a chance to freeze it. Oh, I should also note that oat protein adds a creaminess to the final product that is unlike all of the other plant-based proteins.
Other proteins you might see on the market include sunflower, flaxseed, and watermelon, and even some insect proteins like crickets. In general, when choosing the right protein, it usually depends on three components: taste, texture, and appearance. For taste, does your product have any off notes? And how do you overcome those challenges with the off notes? For texture, do your proteins contribute gritty or chalky notes to the product? And 3, appearance. What does your product look like? Are consumers going to want to pick it up off of a shelf and drink it? Or does it look like something straight out of a swamp?
So regardless of what plant-based proteins you choose, they each have different benefits and they each have different challenges. We always start by understanding our end goal. Who is the consumer? You need to keep in mind who your intended market is for any product that you're developing.
Due to the nature of pea and mung bean proteins, one of my biggest challenges is optimizing the taste and the texture of the final product. In the market, it's very common that plant proteins are compared to dairy proteins. So ideally, the taste and the texture of your plant product is comparable to your dairy product.
So consumers have various reasons for wanting to consume plant-based products. Some are for health reasons. Some are just seeking alternatives to meat and to dairy products. Some have environmental concerns, while others are following strict diets. So are we looking to make a vegan product? Are we looking to make a high protein product? Will it be a no sugar added product, or will we have a low sugar product? Are we going to have allergens? We know that we're going to have to avoid dairy allergens, but can we have nut allergens? Now, these are questions that are relevant for food product development, but it's critical when you talk about it for plant-based product development. It limits all of the ingredients that we're allowed to use with the answer to each one of those questions. So making a plant-based product with a limited ingredient choice is the biggest challenge.
As Beth mentioned, limited ingredients are definitely a major challenge, but Clean Label is steering the market. Consumers don't want to buy something if they can't pronounce an ingredient or determine its functionality in a product, so less is more. Pea and mung bean proteins are typically vegetative in flavor and gritty in texture. Therefore, I have to definitely consider utilizing tools to optimize the taste and texture of the product.
Now, we know that we're working with a fava bean protein in our plant-based formulation, so there's going to be a slight vegetative note. So we're going to use some of these tools in order to mitigate those. We might need to use this vanilla to help smooth out those peaky vegetative notes. We might need to use this bitter blocker to help, especially if we're looking at a higher protein formulation. A sour masker might be needed in order to, remove some of the tartness, especially in a lower sugar product. Speaking of lower sugar, we might need a sweetness modifier. Sweet modulation, while it lifts the inherent perception of sweetness in the base, it also doubles as a masker for pea protein and for other plant-based proteins.
Just because my ingredients are limited does not mean that their functionalities are. Let's take salt, for example. Salt can make things, salty, but it can also act as a buffer or help to mask off notes commonly found in proteins. Another great example is vanilla. Although we often think of it as a flavor component, vanilla can also work to add mouthfeel and sweetness perception to your final product. The bottom line is, you need to think beyond the obvious when you develop these products. Or as we like to say on our segment, let's think outside the box.
Because we are trying to target a dairy product with our plant-based protein, we might need to add a cream or a milk note in order to round out the fullness of the profile of the product. Now, while you don't need to use all of these tools, you need to know that they exist, that they're available, and that it's a trial and error to try to find which is going to work for each one of your bases. You also sometimes have to think a little more outside of the box. Maybe a brown sugar note or a brown note or a spice note might end up making your product a little bit better. It might end up helping you with some of those nuances that you don't want in your final product.
When developing a product, I like to take a building block approach. First, we should consider our core products, which today include stabilizer and our proteins, mung bean and pea protein. Now I've added the stabilizer and I'll add the proteins as well. Those will mix and hydrate for about 10 to 15 minutes inside of the mixer. And once those are stabilized, we can add our other core ingredients, such as stevia for our sweetener and salt as our buffer. Now I'll add the proteins to the batch. Once the proteins have been added, we can hydrate the proteins with the gum inside. The protein should hydrate for typically 10 to 15 minutes for optimal stabilization. Once the proteins have been hydrated, then we can add our other core ingredients. For our sweetener, we're going to be using stevia today. Once the stevia is added, we can then add our salt, which is going to be acting as our buffer. And as I mentioned previously, it can also act to mask some of the off notes of the proteins as well. Once those have been added, we can mix the product. Now that our core ingredients have had time to mix thoroughly, we can look to overcome some of the challenges we face in taste and texture of the product. First, we're going to look to mask some of the vegetative off notes found in the proteins using our bitter masking and our astringency masking tools. Another tool we can look to use is a milk flavor, which can incorporate creamy lactones that help to smooth out the product, better balancing it for an optimal taste experience. Lastly, we'll look at a dairy mouthfeel flavor, which will improve the overall texture of the product, making it a better taste experience. Once we've established our core product formulation, then we can start to consider some of the nice-to-haves in the product. Today we're going to be working with a chocolate profile, so we want to consider adding cocoa powder. One thing that we see often is that cocoa powder can incorporate some bitter notes, so you have to be careful in choosing your source of cocoa powder and also how much you're using in your product. But also remember that there are tools to help reduce the bitterness from cocoa powder, such as vanilla. Vanilla can help to boost a chocolate profile while also adding a sweet, creamy component to the product. Once you're happy with your final product formulation, we can then scale up for processing. Processing is typically indirect or direct steam injection with inline homogenization, which helps to maximize product stability and minimize product contamination. During this segment today, however, we're using our Thermomix benchtop processor. Well, give it a try. It looks like we made a great tasting product. And that's a wrap. Thanks for joining us.
I'm Adam Yaintruk, IFF's Global Innovation Program Director for Reimagine Protein. Thank you for joining us today, and I hope you found IFF Plantfull Festival both fun and insightful as it was for us to create it. Now the question is not if there's a future of plant-based protein, it's more about how you will lead your company and the industry to adapt to this change. And know that IFF is here for you. Our mission is to collectively deepen our knowledge of alternative proteins and pioneer technologies that enable the future of sustainable, healthier foods. Driven by some of the consumer and market insights you heard today, our program is firmly focused in 4 areas. 1, science and know-how, deepening our understanding of taste and textures of alternative protein. 2, pioneering technologies to help mask the unpleasant notes associated with these type of proteins. 3, looking into the next generation of protein, and that includes areas such as biotech, and 4, an application excellence that brings it all together. In the coming weeks, we're going to be sharing more about IFF Plantfull and our commitment to alternative protein. With a best-in-class portfolio of ingredients, technologies, capabilities, and expertise, our goal is to deliver consumer-led targeted product design. And with the upcoming merger with DuPont and N&B, we're excited to expand our capabilities even further. As we wrap up today's event, reach out to your sales representative to continue the conversation. We're here to help you, and we can't wait to help innovate together with you on the next generation of alternative protein products. One more thing before we go. Remember I said this is a journey, and like all journeys, there's going to be mistakes along the way. You can't help but laugh at those when you look back. That being said, here's a sneak peek behind the making of the IFF Plantfull Festival.
Can you taste it for me? What does it taste like?
Are comparable to taste and texture of these dairy products. Now that's a challenge.
You want to try it one more time?
Yeah.
I'm going to cut that one out. I don't know what she was thinking there.
Balance out the product better.
Let's actually start that from the top.
Too many words. Too many words. I am just too many words. Diarrhea of the mouth.
Como você se sentiria se eu te falasse que esse sorvete é feito de plantas?
Ah, surpresa, porque eu nunca ia comer um sorvete de plantas.
Would you ask your mom or dad to buy this?
Absolutely.
Once I start going in a different direction, then it throws everything else off for me. Sorry.
Sorry.
Hey, we would have lost it anyway. Perfect. Thanks, Peg.
All right. It looks like we overcame our challenges and we made a great tasting product. That's a win.
On behalf of the entire IFF team, thank you very much for joining us today and hope to see you soon at the next IFF event.